I just realized I haven't showered yet today, and so
I did.
This whole area is just kind of like...
I showered today, and I washed my hair, and it's like... It's just... It's really poofy right now.
I basically look like I'm straight out of a Lethal Weapon movie. Like one of the extras.
I'm out of one of the Canteen Pro V.
That gets blown up in the background. Mel Gibson, what are you doing? I'm just shooting it up, Danny Glover. I'm trying to catch the bad guy. Well, what about all those other people over there?
What about all the innocents?
Who don't have bulletproof vests or know how to avoid gunfire by zigzagging? What is that? The Naruto run? Is that what that's called? They don't do that.
I don't know. No one does that, though. No, like, if I was getting shot at, I would be...
No,
I'd be, like, dancing. I'd be, like, all over the place.
No, I would hide behind a car. Or something that's bulletproof, right?
Well, it depends. Maybe? It depends on the gun that's shooting at you.
Are you doing you're doing the recap, right? The plot, the basic.
If you'd like, or you can.
I did the last one.
All right, so we just finished watching Gemini Man, and basically the premise of the movie is Will Smith's character is like the best sniper of all time, ever in the world. His boss, Lord Varys, I don't know what his Varys something, Clive Owen's character, decided to clone him and make a younger version of Will Smith who would then be just as good, I guess. But then for some reason they can't keep Will Smith around, so young Will Smith has to kill old Will Smith for some reason. I don't know why it had to be him.
So I think that introduces my first...
That's the basic premise of the movie, though.
Like, what? I still don't know why they were trying to kill him. Because,
Okay, at the very beginning of the movie, he's up there, he's sniping, there's this bullet train rushing by. Apparently his target's on the train, and he has to hit him from 2 kilometers away. And it's actually kind of a cool sequence.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought it was neat.
Cool.
And the music's really good, and you're getting into this movie, and then he takes out this guy, he shoots him in the neck, goes through the window of the train, and then the train goes into a tunnel, which I was like, that's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah.
But then the train was lit, and everyone saw it anyway.
No, they thought Will Smith's character...
He was misinformed. Henry. Yeah.
Was told that he was killing a Russian terrorist, bioterrorist, when in reality, this guy was actually a scientist helping the U.S. government and this
cloning,
this contractor
thing
that was working with the U.S. government to clone super soldiers who had no remorse, no emotion,
no pain, no fear.
And so I guess they had this Russian scientist killed because he knew about it.
Once he figures that out, the government turns on him and tries to kill him.
Why? And why? It was
all quite confusing.
Yeah.
A lot of it was.
It made no sense because the government contracted with Gemini to do exactly what they were doing. For some reason, they didn't tell Henry.
Yeah.
It makes no sense why Henry had to die in that movie. Maybe Varys had a personal reason for killing Will Smith off. I don't know. They don't explain it, and it makes no sense.
He was very much a one-sided villain. Like, there was really no reason for him to be the way he was. Like, he just was. And I gotta say, cinematography was great. Will Smith's acting was phenomenal. Like, it was a good movie in some ways. The music was very well done. There were some really cool shots.
Can I just say one thing about the cinematography?
Sure.
That slow-mo part. You know, when they're getting shot at.
The slow-mo was a little bit overdone.
With that chain gun. And they're just like...
We're talking about when all of our favorite snacks exploded in their glory. It was like, let's do all our product placement at once and let's blow it all up.
And that's what they did. So it just didn't work for me. The angle was all wrong. The looks on their faces were really funky.
I just got hungry. I was like, there's Lay's right there. I could
that too.
Yeah.
But the chain gun was pretty sweet.
It was cool. That's cool. Visually, this movie was pretty good. It had some pacing issues.
Yeah.
But during the high action scenes, like, there were some ridiculous things that happened. But there was some cool stuff too. The bike thing with when he was riding it through the alleyway, cool. That was a great shot. Like, I thought that was awesome. Mm-hmm. And getting punched in the face with the motorcycle is kind of ridiculous, but it was kind of fun to see.
There were some instances where the CGI was pretty good.
And there were some instances where it was horrible, especially at the end.
When the guy was jumping up the side of that house, like, I'm sorry. No human being can jump up the side of a house in one leap.
Especially a 12-year-old boy.
And it looks plastic. Like, come on. Star Wars had some pretty good CGI, the most recent movie with Princess Leia.
Dude, I still don't know if I believe that.
Jason thinks
I'm going to have to look it up.
The CGI was a little lacking. It was not all that believable when they did close-ups.
In some
you
scenes,
could tell it was CGI.
In some scenes, it was pretty good, though. It was interesting to see how different, like one shot versus another. And maybe it had something to do with the lighting. You know, in certain lighting situations, they were able to more closely match the actual lighting in the shot better, and that's why it looked more realistic.
And lighting is hard to do when it's not
totally
real.
You know, the worst, in my opinion, was at the very end when they had the CGI young Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, going to college. It looked like there was some actor walking around, and then his cartoon head was like, huh, 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 and his head was moving around way too much and not really in a believable way at all.
But at the end of the movie, we're giving away spoilers here, so
no,
we probably should have warned everyone. Spoilers!
Spoiler alert!
They're at this college. Will Smith's clone, Henry's clone in the movie, survives. Everyone survives. Everyone's happy in the end, and he's going to college, wherever this college is at. I have no idea. Anyway, so they're walking him through this college campus, and trying to give him advice on what to do at college, what classes to take. And I was just like, this is just kind of a weird, like, parent type moment.
Yeah, they're like parenting him.
Where they did not build that type of rapport throughout the movie. And then, boom, all of a sudden they're stuck in the situation where they have to do that. It didn't work for me. I thought it was
like you could tell they were trying to go for like that parenting father-son kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's never, like, what was it, like yesterday he was trying to kill him? And suddenly he's like, let me give you some advice on what to do in college.
I'm pretty sure Will Smith chopped this guy in the throat in one of the
he almost drowned. The clone almost drowned him.
I mean, they're just like to the throat multiple times. Like, you don't give parental advice to someone you tried to chop in the throat. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
unless there's at least a few months gap.
Not in my family.
Between the throat chopping and the going to college. Will Smith's range as an actor just seems to have diminished ever since he left The Fresh Prince. So, like, in that show, he's just this teen who has all sorts of emotions, and he portrays them very, very well.
I agree.
And so, well, there's one exception. He's been in one movie since The Fresh Prince where his emotional range is quite prolific, and it's he plays a pigeon. What's that called? Producer Jess, do you remember that one?
Spies in Disguise.
Spies in Disguise. Yes.
I've not seen that, so spoiler alert to me.
Yeah, so I won't give this one away because we'll probably end up reviewing that one at some point. But he has a wonderful emotional range in that movie. But in every other movie I've seen him in, his range is basically sad or perplexed. Those are the only two emotions he shows.
Or badass.
Well, even as badass.
I'm the best assassin, clearly. Well, I'm clearly the better one. Because I got a gun to your head.
Exactly. So he does that, but there's always his eyes are always tearing up about something. I don't know.
He's a sensitive guy.
He is, but even in
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad, he plays an assassin who has a tumultuous background where he is just racked with torment and pain. And you can see the sadness in every scene that he's in.
So what you're saying is this is the prequel to Suicide Squad.
Is it, Jason? Or is it a sequel to Suicide Squad?
Blew my mind.
Anyways.
Can we talk about the female lead, Ramona Flowers? Man. But one thing I really appreciated about her character was that she was competent in a lot of ways. Normally in these types of movies, the damsel gets, captured and she has to get rescued, or or when the bad guys are fighting, the hero and the villain are like duking it out. You know, the damsel's over in the corner going like this.
Stop fighting, you guys!
But this time, she tried to fight back, and it not necessarily worked every time, but like she was actually competent in some way, and I really appreciated that.
She kicked that guy's ass at the beginning. You remember that?
Yeah.
Tied him up.
And the relationship was interesting too, because it seemed like they were bonding by cleaning each other's wounds. Every single time there was some kind of meaningful moment between Will Smith and her character. Yeah. It was like, let me touch you up here, clean all the blood off your face. Oh, while you're at it, can you like pull some of those shards out of my muscles?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, I can.
All right. Now we're bonded.
They didn't have chemistry at all, really.
I agree.
I don't think they were trying to create a love interest there.
Well, she's so much younger than
co-stars
that I think they maybe decided not to go there.
Which is good. Like,
yeah, I think it's like
we need more movies where they don't have a love interest or that type of relationship.
It's kind of a rote ending anyway, so I'm actually glad they didn't go there with this one.
Yeah, me too. There was no kissing between those two characters, which was good.
Yeah. Somebody says at one point, why not just send a missile to this cloning facility to blow it up? And I'm like, you know what? Why not just send a missile? And his response is like, well, you are the missile.
Yeah,
that's the stupidest answer I've ever heard.
That was this Russian guy we were talking about
just
earlier.
Shoot a missile at the facility, blow it up. Done. End of story.
Apparently, this Russian guy sent Harry to kill a cloning facility because Will Smith's character was the missile for this Russian dude.
There's a euphemism in there somewhere.
You're the missile, Harry. You are.
I know firsthand.
Go blow up that mean little facility.
It's Henry.
Henry. It's Henry. See, I didn't even remember who the main character's name was.
I remembered, but it's Will Smith.
I didn't.
It'll always be Will Smith, no matter what. It's just Will Smith.
I think they only said his name once the entire movie. So
no, they said it more than once.
Twice. Maybe twice.
Dude, we watched it with subtitles. It said Henry, and then whatever he said.
They were trying to create a parent-child bond there, or relationship, and they tried to portray that to us in a way that we would care about it, and maybe at least to an extent, believe that was the case, that there was a parent-child relationship there between Varys and Junior, but it wasn't believable. I mean, we all knew that Varys didn't give a shit about.
I mean, we guessed from the trailer that he was going to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
so it wasn't a surprise at all.
And
surprise,
Junior, the clone, turns on Varys in the end, and that's how they win. And we both called that from the get-go.
Should probably wait until that is set before we keep going.
Yeah, what?
Okay, since it's falling. Also, I can't figure out how to tighten this. Do I push it?
You just.
Okay.
Took a minute.
Excellent. So that was the first thing. The second thing was at the end where they're fighting. Varys and Junior are fighting. It looks like Varys is kind of winning for a minute there. And he has Junior from the back and is just bashing his head in.
I remember that part.
He's like, I love you. I will make you a man.
I'm trying to make you a man.
And I'm trying to turn you into a man by punching you in the back of the head.
By bashing you with my clenched fist in the back of the head. Which every parent knows that works like a charm. No, it doesn't.
We do not. We are not condoning abuse. We're laughing at the ridiculousness of it.
If you want to teach your kid something, don't punch them because they won't listen to you either way. They will fear you. And maybe that's what he was trying to do.
Well, he was clearly an idiot parent. Like it failed. It backfired on him, obviously. The moral of the story, don't punch your kids in the back of the head.
Yeah.
That's really what they've been trying to say this whole time.
Especially if they're a well-trained assassin. They will probably resent that and then maybe assassinate.
It may come back to bite you in the butt. It's true. And it's so interesting to me that it's like, there were a bunch of writers probably sitting around in the writer room and they're just like, you know what? What if there was a movie where there's this assassin guy, okay? And he was so good that literally no one could kill him, and then they needed to kill him, who would they send? Himself. Let's make that a movie.
I was about to do another mind-blowing symbol, but we already did that one. So
we can repeat ourselves.
No, your mind can't be blown that quickly. Or twice.
Then maybe it wasn't blown. It was just something else. Why couldn't they have sent somebody else? Is really that's what I'm getting at. Why did he have to send the clone? Because obviously the clone is going to see him through the scope that he looks just like him, and he's going to be like, "Wait, that's not what I was told," and then he's going to question it. I mean, obviously, if you're going to kill the guy, send somebody else who isn't the clone. I mean, it just seems like a stupid thing to do. What an idiot villain.
The reason they did that was to sell movie tickets.
Well, the reason they did it because that was the whole premise of the film.
Yeah. They wanted a show where the main protagonist was fighting against himself. And
there's like a deeper meaning there, like
that's fine.
Fighting myself.
And they had that whole idea of being able to look in the mirror, and Henry.
Yep, got it.
Couldn't look in the mirror for part of the movie because he felt so bad about all the people he'd killed in his life.
She probably should, to some extent. That murder is typically frowned upon.
Very much so. I think they did an okay job introducing some moral complexity into the movie. I think the whole idea of cloning is a moral issue that we haven't really grappled with as a society. And so presenting the challenges and potential pitfalls of cloning was an interesting part of the movie.
Yeah. However, when you throw in, getting kicked in the face with the back tire of a motorcycle in the same movie, people tend to lose that ability to see that underlying message and take it to heart, I think, because some of the ridiculous stuff that actually happened in the movie. It was cool, but I'm not going to think philosophically about cloning if that kind of stuff is happening at the same time.
Yeah, and so the plot actually distracted from some of the more interesting ideas that they were trying to present.
I agree.
The other issue I had with the whole cloning thing was that they presented cloning as if, if you get cloned, your clone is going to be just like you. And they don't even introduce the idea that environmental factors influence who you are, almost more so than genetic factors, at least personality traits.
Well, and especially the fact that he was raised by Varys, this father that punches kids. That's going to very much change how you were. Different. Your personality will be very different.
But it was almost like Junior was an exact replica of Henry.
They definitely portrayed it as though nurture had nothing to do with this. Like it's all nature.
Which science has basically proven that's not the case.
Clearly, yeah. So. There's this one point where he shoots two guys whose heads happen to align. And the bullet goes...
body armor.
Yeah, the bullet goes straight through the guy's helmet, which I imagine is probably meant to be bulletproof, and then goes through the other guy's helmet.
Bulletproof
helmet. Not only the first side of the helmet, but the back side of the helmet, and then the front and back side of the other guy's helmet. Yeah. And then... super CGI Will Smith, who's like 12 years old, shows up with a similar helmet.
The same damn helmet!
And they shoot him in the head like 6 times.
With like an AK-47.
And it bounces right off his head.
They're just like...
There's no continuity here.
It's not just one shot though, Jason. It's like 100 shots to the face. And it's like...
and takes it like a champ. It's probably from being beaten in the back of the head so many times. He's just used to it.
He's a man now. So he can reflect bullets better than the other Will Smith Jr. guy. So he gets shot in the face like 100 times, and he's just like, oh, I'm okay. Then he gets up and starts punching again.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That was stupid.
It was really weird.
The transition from, them fighting against each other the whole time to Junior wanting to help them.
Good point.
So Junior goes to see Varys and his father and confronts him with what he thinks is the truth. Varys doesn't deny it. Junior decides to leave and go help Henry. There's this moment where Junior is looking down at Will Smith and says, "Do you trust me?" Oh, it's...
Yeah, he does.
So Will Smith says, "How in the hell are they tracking me?" And Junior looks down at him and is like, do you trust me? And Will Smith gets this soft look in his eye.
Just like Jasmine. Yes.
Yes.
And then they whisk away on the magic carpet.
No. Oh yeah, but instead of the magic carpet, he gets a knife in his arm.
He's like, I trust you.
And so
Cut me open.
he says that he trusts Junior, and Junior, without any explanation at all, stabs Will Smith in the arm, or Henry, and starts cutting away. And I mean, we come to find out that there's a tracking device hidden in his arm. How Junior knew about this, I have no idea. But
why on earth would Henry trust him?
Exactly.
He was just trying to kill him yesterday.
And why would he let him stab him in the arm without giving him an explanation? Why didn't Junior give him an explanation before he stabbed him in the arm in the first place? Makes a lot of sense to just tell him why.
Or, yeah, he'd be like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, I trust you, but why are you going to cut me in the arm?
No need. I fully trust you.
Just
cut away.
Just carve away. In fact, spell my name while you're at it, because I'd love to have a scar with my name on it. I don't know. It just seemed a little pointless and stupid.
It was rushed, is what it was.
Rushed.
They didn't really have any time to develop a relationship of trust.
Yep. The movie seemed rushed in some situations and kind of slow in others.
There was a lot of times where I was like, man, for an action movie, we haven't seen a lot of action for a while.
And in fact, right when the movie ended, we were like, oh, well, that was a lot longer than I thought it was.
It seemed like a long movie, even though it was only like an hour and 45 minutes or something like
That's
that.
I love your
Question for you.
Yeah.
What happens when you shoot a grenade?
Well, I have a lot of experience with that. So logic would tell me that if I shot a grenade, it would go boom.
It would blow up.
But
It takes you out of the story, though. It's like, that just doesn't compute. So now I'm thinking about that instead of the story that I'm supposed to be paying attention to.
yeah.
Right?
I think that actually brings up a great point, that there's a fine line between believability or almost believability and just something that's so far-fetched that it just completely distracts from the situation. Junior whips around, sees it in like half a second, shoots it at the perfect angle to make it ricochet off the mirror and back towards Henry.
And then
it
it blew up
explodes.
exactly when it got there.
Like, it was so ridiculous that I was just sitting there staring at the screen in disbelief.
Right. And it was so the whole thing is it's about suspension of disbelief, right? We suspend our disbelief when we go to the movies. I mean, of course, none of this is real. We know that. But at the very beginning of the movie, any given movie, even if it's a crazy spoof and it's ridiculous, they set up a kind of set of rules, right? This is what you can expect from this movie. This is the level of realism that we're kind of going for, right? And so they set that up, but then when they pull that kind of ridiculous shit, it kind of breaks those rules that they already had previously established. They were inconsistent with the reality in which they were,
That they tried
creating this story. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. They weren't consistent in that regard throughout the movie.
No.
And I think we've highlighted that a few times today.
So I
Bottom
guess to recap, if you want to see Will Smith beat the shit out of himself, you want to see Will Smith beat up the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then go see this movie. If you're a huge fan of Will Smith, he does some pretty good acting in this movie. I thought he did a good job. It had its ups and downs, but ultimately I feel like you could probably see other movies and be a lot more satisfied with your selection.
Yeah, even like a James Bond movie. I mean, they're not great at dialogue, but they do. It's a pure action movie. And if you're going to see this movie with Will Smith, you're going to see an action movie. So my bottom line, I feel like there were some interesting action scenes, some not so interesting dialogue, a lot of pacing issues. They did a good job of at least trying to introduce some complex themes and moral dilemmas related to cloning. But there were just too many distractions for me to truly get into it and to enjoy it. And so I think it's safe to say that we're going to go ahead and bust a movie.
This
here.
movie is officially busted.
So don't waste your money. I guess you can rent it, but it's like $6 on Amazon Prime.
Just don't. Yeah,
and
just
a few
watch
other
it.
streaming services. So watch a Bond movie. Oh, and another one. There's a great movie with Denzel Washington in it. I just can't remember any.
The Equalizer.
The Equalizer. Thank you, producer Jess.
So
that's a great movie. So watch that one instead.
There are a lot of other options out there, honestly.
Yep.
So if you have an idea for what movie you'd like us to watch next, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and maybe your movie will be chosen, and we'll review it, and maybe bust it. We'll see.
Bust it, or maybe we won't bust it. But for now, it was great to be with you this week, and leave some comments down below, and join us next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you again next episode.
Bye. All right, that was pretty good.
Oh, that went really
Yeah.
well.
I mean, we'll have to edit out a few of those. Like,
I'm sure we will. When we say
Quiet
stupid
scenes.
shit.
like, I was trying to like be sarcastic.
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. Sometimes I'll say stuff too, and then after I say it, I'm like, oh, that did not come across right. Hopefully this camera is still recording. Fuck, it isn't.
Mother. It was doing so good. I was like,
Wait,
I missed it.
your phone wasn't?